This is the life we're used to. But what if life could look like this? An oasis of green parks, endless sidewalks, and empty roads. Impossible? Well, it's actually the concept behind the 15-minute city.
15-minute city or the 15-minute neighborhood is certainly something that's become very much, you can say, in vogue recently.
Paris is working towards it, so is Barcelona and Portland, and now Vancouver also has a plan in place.
Big new move number one was that we build a city where for all residents in the city, 90% of your daily needs are within a walking distance.
A solution not just for gridlock on the streets, but also for carbon emissions. In fact, the goals of creating a more walkable city were announced as part of Vancouver's recent Climate Emergency Action Plan. And the Vancouver Plan and Project team are already in the process of figuring out what neighborhoods should look like and how to translate that into land use strategies.
Just look at your neighborhood and look at your walk score. The walk score actually just tells you how many good things you're a short walk from.
But for this plan to really work, you don't just need to change the city.
To meet the environmental goals that the country, the province, and the city have committed to repeatedly, is to change behavior.
So in Vancouver's latest Climate Emergency Action Plan, they announced new incentives to drive less, like connecting cycling and walking networks citywide, in hopes that 80% of trips by 2030 will be made either by foot, bike, or transit. They also announced disincentives for driving, like implementing transportation pricing in the Metro Core and creating a carbon pollution surcharge on residential parking permits.
Administration says the goal is to accommodate 600,000 new residents in redeveloped areas, with 50% of all new home units added through infill. The plan also calls for half of all future travel to be done by transit, and for residents to access all their daily needs within 15 minutes. Not everyone supports the plan.
My understanding is that this means I will need to stay within my district to meet all my needs so that the city can meet its climate plan objectives.
I don't think Edmontonians can afford to be part of a renovation experiment of this size so quickly.
They're constantly monitored by facial recognition cameras that are able to instantly put a face to a name. Now the Chinese are also ranked, given a mark out of a possible 950 points. A score in the 700s is considered good. Around the 500 mark is not. For now, the number is a sort of bank credit rating, keeping track of everyone's spending habits.
I think being ranked is a good thing. A society has to have rules.
It forces us to be well behaved.
It may seem scary, but it's just like that here. We're used to it, and anyway, we don't have a choice.
Beijing is taking the system a step further. It's aggregating data gathered by banks, private companies, and the state to rate if someone's a good or bad citizen.
By using the most data possible, the so-called big data, the system will play an important role in rebuilding a moral society.
The state will go over every detail of a person's life with a fine-tooth comb. Their financial situation, spending habits, career, even behaviour on social media. Criticising the government online or displaying outward signs of wealth is a no-no. On the other hand, praising the party or giving blood increases your social credit. Xiao Wen-Wang is a model citizen. She lives in Nanjing, a testing ground for social ranking. Married with a child, she has a job in a retirement home, no debts, and she wouldn't dream of jaywalking.
As a good citizen, I respect the rules of the road. If I didn't, I'd lose points on my social credit.
In theory, everything can be taken into account in the social score, even the most innocuous errands like supermarket shopping. When Xiao Wen-Wang makes an electronic payment, her purchases tell the state a lot about her. Buying cigarettes would count against her. On the other hand, nappies show she's an attentive mother. Beer could indicate alcoholism. She'd be better off buying water.
I get discounts for all public services, even at museums. And the library is free for me, thanks to my score.
A good score brings benefits, but people with low scores lose rights. The cinema names and shames people considered untrustworthy, plastering their details, even their addresses, across big screens.
It's a matter of principle. Those people have to be condemned.
Those people aren't honest, so they have to pay the price.
It's only right to pay your debts. You have to blacklist those that don't.
The Supreme Court has created a blacklist for so-called bad citizens, those whose ratings have dropped to 0. On it are companies, but also 23 million people to date. Among them is this journalist Liu Hu. He got a little too close to uncovering corruption among high-profile party members. After being sued for defamation by the subject of a story he'd written, he was blacklisted. But he only realized when he tried to buy a train ticket and was told he was banned from traveling.
That tells me I'm still on the blacklist.
Punished because he's been branded untrustworthy by the state.
Once you're blacklisted, you can no longer get a bank loan, start a business, buy an apartment, or even send your children to a private school.
Liu Hu is among a tiny minority of people who have dared to criticize the system, which some are calling a digital dictatorship.
I worry, because I think many people like me will be deprived of individual freedoms, and all of us will live with restrictions of one kind or another.
But I looked into the C40 websites. The C40 is the consortium of municipalities that have signed on to the 15-minute city plan. And I read in their own documentation, this is relevant to the tri-state city idea, that their goals are to reduce caloric consumption to 2,500 calories a day by force, essentially, within the next 15 years, to ensure that the peasant class, which is everybody but the elitists, can't fly more than one time every 3 years, to not merely shift private car ownership from fossil fuel to electric, which is fundamentally impossible because the grid can't handle it, but to eliminate 90% of private car ownership so that people are forced to take, unbelievably expensive in terms of time utilization and non-existent public transportation systems, and to limit the amount of travel that people can do outside of their neighborhoods. And, and then I watch the legacy media claim that pointing that out is something akin to a right-wing conspiracy, which it most certainly isn't, because you can just find the bloody documentation online. And then I look at places like China, which have taken this to an extreme. 600 million closed-circuit TV cameras in China, 1 for every 1.5 persons, watching the Chinese all the time, able to monitor them 100% by face, and also to identify them by gait, and to limit their ability to do absolutely anything, to buy, to sell, to travel, to move, to leave their neighborhood, with this top-down surveillance system that perversely and consciously some of the Chinese engineers have actually named Skynet. And in a conscious attempt to produce a positive version of, the absolutely catastrophic, apocalyptic artificial intelligence that was in the bloody Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. And you can't even talk about this stuff without sounding like a raving conspiratorialist, but there it is.
Goal is to build a digital prison around each of us so we won't rebel. Instant, cheerful obedience, all others will be erased. Watch this little clip from Catherine Austin Fitts talking about this world, exactly what it'll look like, the things I just mentioned there. This is what it's all about. This is what they're trying to create.
Right. So what you're doing is you're moving everything into a one world government that will have very tight central control, and you will have everyone on a digital transaction system where you can control them spatially, and you can control what they do, what they think, what they spend money on. So if you think of the Chinese social credit system, they're basically, if I can put you on a digital currency system, CBDC, central bank, it's not a currency, it's like a credit at the company store. You're totally financially controlled and totally financially dependent. If I don't want you traveling more than 5 miles from your home, you can't transact more than 5 miles from your home. If you say something I don't like, I turn off your bank account and you starve to death. If you don't take whatever injection I want to give you, that's it. You don't get any food. So it's a complete control system that can be implemented with AI and software in very, very granular ways, and I can track you 24/7.
But we don't have it yet, do we?
It's coming.
It's
coming. And
this is part of the decision that has been done like last year.
So if I was the central banks and I announced, okay, we're doing going direct, I want complete control of all your financial transactions, no privacy. You know, I have complete access to data and I control your money and I control your wallet and I control your bank account. I can, if I want to raise taxes, I just take it out of your bank account and you have to do what I say. Everybody would say, no, I don't want to do that. But you say, oh, you know, we're worried about your health and safety, so we want to have these healthcare passports. They're green. They're green. And it's for your safety and it's because we want to make sure you're safe. You know, then you can, you know, it's the Judas goat. You can get everybody in the trap because you don't want them to see the trap until you throw it.
Yeah.
And it's too late. And that's why you'll see people like Dr. Naomi Wolf standing up and saying, if we let them do this, it's the end of human liberty in the West. And it is. It is the end of human liberty if we agree to this kind of financial control system. And I assure you, their goals on this have nothing to do with health. Nothing. This is a financial control system.
We don't realize how much power going digital gives them. We just don't realize it. But like she was saying there, if they don't want you going beyond 5 miles from your house, nothing you have works past there. Your car won't work. Your credit cards won't work. Your bank doesn't work. Your ID doesn't work. Nothing works once it's all digital. You won't be able to fill up with gas past there. You won't be able to do anything. So it's a prison, and that's the bottom line of this. But they have to act like right now, no, it's digital for freedom. If you want to be free, we need to go digital on everything.